So I just had some unexpectedly good news about an old film of mine. Back in 2007 and 2008, and a little bit in 2009, I filmed a low-budget feature of Marvel's The She-Hulk, the superhero character. It was called Shamelessly She-Hulk, and had a terrific cast, and we shot 55 hours of footage. It was a very ambitious production. And I edited most of that film together. Not the entire film. There were so many special effects to edit that I just wasn't able to edit it all together over the next few years. But I put an incredible amount of work into that. It's almost an animated film at times because I have to color her green on every frame and do lots of special effects and this and that. And after a while, after 2010, I kind of had to put a stop to editing the film because it had just kind of gone on too long and I needed to get on with my life for a while. But people have been really supportive over the years and have kept watching the She-Hulk clips on YouTube. And I always wanted people to be able to really see She-Hulk, Shamelessly She-Hulk as a movie. And it's funny because when we were shooting She-Hulk in January 2007, I wrote it in December 2006, and we started shooting January to April 2007 in Santa Monica, California. They were actually shooting Iron Man at that same time, so the Marvel Cinematic Universe wasn't a thing yet. And it's funny how, Marvel took over movies right after that. But when we were shooting, Marvel had not been successful. Marvel movies had not been very successful at the box office for the most part. So there are lots of jokes about that, how she's worried about this and what she needs to do and this and that. And it's funny how I see the same sort of stuff that we were doing in our movie. Now Marvel's gotten to the point where they're doing it for real. Like, at the time it seemed crazy and almost a joke that you would do a film about the She-Hulk as a feature. And, she was a funny character. When I was reading She-Hulk comics by John Byrne, back in the day, like around 1989, this would be, she was funny. She was smart. She's a lawyer and she's got a sense of humor, and she would know she was in a comic book, and she would make jokes about being in a comic book and walk across panels and that sort of thing. And I loved that. I just thought it was a great character, and I thought John Byrne, he's weird, but I thought he did the best work of his life because he took those first 8 issues of Sensational She-Hulk as his excuse to just do whatever, to just go crazy and enjoy himself and just draw whatever he liked. And I thought it was a wonderful run of comics. So I wanted to do a She-Hulk. My idea was that She-Hulk would be making her own movie. So she would be talking about the difficulties of making a superhero movie that honors the original character but does its own thing. And she could look at the audience and be directing and be in charge of her own story. I think that was important to me. And I liked writing a strong female character who I think guys can like and women can like. So it was an enjoyable movie to do, but nobody ever got to see it in full. It got millions of views on YouTube. I think at this point we've got like 14.5 million views on YouTube, and it'll probably be more by the time I've said that. I haven't actually checked in a while, but we got a lot of views on YouTube, and people were very supportive over the years, but nobody ever actually saw the full 2-hour or 90-minute movie. I was crazy overambitious, and I still can't believe the insane amount of editing and animation and special effects that I did on that edit. It was nuts, and it took years. But, a lot of my projects are nuts and take years and don't really result in anything, I'm afraid. I'm overambitious, and I was so overambitious with She-Hulk that we were going to shoot a sequel. Like, we actually shot a few bits of a sequel, and I had ideas that we'd have a sequel which would in the first movie, she learns to love being the She-Hulk, right? And in the sequel, it was going to be more like Dan Slott's run, with a little more from John Byrne's run, where she learns to love being Jennifer Walters again and kind of becomes a more complete person. So it was like 2 stories. But the second one was going to be crazy and high budget, was the basic idea. And I don't know if I ever even thought we were going to shoot it, but it was like, if we ever got picked up, if I ever got to pitch a big budget She-Hulk movie, it would probably be a combination of those 2 ideas. 'Cause that was going to be kind of crazy, but we did shoot little bits of it here and there. We shot some stuff with Wheezy and the Hulk, and Titania was going to be big in it. It was going to be the big villain, because it was going to be like Dan Slott's run. And we shot like Wheezy getting an Infinity Stone, and the Hulk during Secret Wars, and all this kind of very nerdy comic book stuff that's now very mainstream, but wasn't then. So when I'm seeing like, Spider-Verse has Spider-Ham in it, that's amazing. And he's very cartoony and fights in the final battle. And like, we're going to do that with Howard the Duck. That's in the script, that Howard the Duck fights like a cartoon character. And like Luke Cage did the whole beat where if you kill him, you'll become the monster, You got to be a hero, and heroes don't kill. A lot of superhero movies do that. And we did that because the comics did that. And there's a scene at the very end of Jessica Jones season 1, which reminded me so much of the Liquidator scene. And Deadpool winking at the audience, all this and that. So superhero movies are so mainstream now that they're doing all the stuff in a much bigger way than they're doing all the kind of crazy stuff we were doing for no money. And we were doing it because superhero films weren't doing it then. And because I like, telling a story about an interesting character. So back in April, anyway, I'm finally getting round to my point. I ramble, so that's that. In April, I was in a pretty stable point in my life, which I'm usually not. I've been very broke and had a rough time of it the last few years. But in April, I was just on my feet enough that I was saying, I would like to remaster She-Hulk as a whole feature and show it to people and see, what people think of it now, this many years later, because this would be, like 11 years later. And it'll be 12 now. So I did that. I remastered all that I had of She-Hulk. And that's an important distinction because I actually did not have the original footage. I remastered what I had. I've got a storage space just north of Los Angeles, and I got my old computer, like the computer I had in 2003, this old Mac. I pulled that out of storage, and I'd stopped using that computer at the beginning of 2012. And I've got a different computer now. I'm still using the same computer from 2012 because I'm poor. But I got that old computer out of storage, and I pulled as much of it as I could off of that hard drive, and it had lots of She-Hulk stuff on it. And I had a few tapes of footage, not much, just a few, just a handful of tapes. So I got all that out of storage, and I spent a month backing up everything on this old computer and editing and finishing special effects, for a few scenes of She-Hulk. Mainly I worked on the hospital scene, which is on YouTube now. And that took me a few weeks. It was a lot of work to do all those special effects and all that animation and keying and matting and backgrounds and rotoscope, a lot of frame-by-frame rotoscope. I actually animate. I turn her green. I animate until she's green. And it's a lot of work. And I did a month of work on She-Hulk, and then I stopped. But I put out a rough cut in April of all of She-Hulk, and I'll link to that in the description so you can watch it. But also, there's lots of She-Hulk clips on my YouTube channel, which is probably where you are watching this right now. So I spent a month remastering it, and I wanted to do more because there's so much footage and so many scenes that we never actually edited. When you shoot 55 hours of footage, there's a lot to go through, and I focused on the stuff I thought was most important to telling the story, but there's a lot more good stuff that we never got to put together. And I thought all that footage was not lost, but basically lost, unavailable to me, period. And see, I moved at the end of 2015. I moved out to LA for film school in 1999, and USC Film School, top film school in the country, they tell me. But I graduated in 2004 or so. I think it was 2004. I'm actually forgetting. But I graduated, had trouble getting work, and the economy kind of crashed during the mid-2000s and hasn't gotten a lot better since then. So I had a lot of trouble getting work, and it's been hard since then. I used to shoot movies all the time when I was younger. Maybe not particularly good movies, because the technology then was pretty bad. We were shooting on like mini DV, and before that on like high 8 and worse stuff than that. Now the technology's so good, but I'm broke, and I think a lot of people are broke these days. So it's harder to actually go out and make a movie. But I'm still making movies. I do a lot of film restoration. I've got web series work that I'm doing. I've got some stuff that is in the works. But She-Hulk was the last kind of big quote-unquote feature, and we shot it for nothing on mini DV. But it's still, the cast was wonderful. We auditioned everybody who would send us. We went on Nowcasting, and I think 10,000 people sent us headshots, and I called in everybody. I was willing to look at everybody, and 400 people actually showed up. And of those people, we found a really good cast, but we really looked hard. And Kierstyn Elrod was amazing as She-Hulk. Lesley Youngblood was amazing as Jen, and so on and so on. And some of our actors have actually been in real Marvel things since then, which is neat. Because John Nania is a martial arts master, so you'll see him in that kind of stuff. And Landell Goolsby, who was Weathermaster, he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and da-da-da. But when I was remastering this, I was noise reducing and cleaning it up like I would when I do my film restorations, but I was restoring, my own film. I cleaned it up. I made it look nicer. I redid all the effects, but I didn't actually have the footage to finish all that stuff. I thought all that was lost because I'd left LA in 2009. And I tried to move back to the East Coast. I lived in Missouri for a while, and I lived in Connecticut for a while, and I lived in New York for a while. And I was looking for work and just kind of surviving. I do a lot of work as an artist, an illustrator for video games. I've been doing that mostly for the last 10 years, yeah. Doing covers for video games. Well, you probably know this. I don't know. You've probably seen my artwork around. But I left LA, and my stuff was in storage in LA. And then when I left Connecticut, my stuff was in storage in Connecticut. And I thought, I drove back to LA when I was really broke and desperate at the end of 2015. And I've been there, in LA or north of LA at the moment, but in LA or thereabouts for the last few years. And I just, thought that all the She-Hulk footage was in storage in Connecticut, and I would probably never see it again. Unfortunately, that it would be really hard to get to, because I looked through my storage space, and my storage space it's disgusting, and there's so much stuff in there. It takes a whole day to go through it. But I just did. This is my good news that I'm finally getting around to. I spent a day. I drove down to the storage space, and I spent all day going through it. And then I opened up every box because I was looking for a very old video of me as a kid, 7 years old, I think. about that age. And I couldn't find it. I was looking for an old VHS tape. So I found all my old VHS tapes. I was going through, like, all the movies I made, like, in high school in, like, 1996. Long time ago now, but like 1996, 1998, 99. I've got, like, VHS tapes of those and all the stuff I did in the Midwest with certain terrible people. But in, like, 2002, I've got, like, their movies now. And, like, old photos and stuff. So I was pulling stuff out, but when I was going through all this, I didn't find the one VHS tape I was looking for, but I did find a box. This has pretty much all the She-Hulk footage in it. All 55 hours of footage that we shot for She-Hulk is in this box, and I didn't think I would ever see it again, maybe, or would not see it in years. And I'd been remastering the movie without any of the scenes that I never edited. So this was amazing. This blew me away. I was like, oh my God. So I've been capturing some of the footage that we never edited. And hopefully I'll be able to actually finish that, find some time, and be able to show you some of that. It was wonderful, like, getting kind of a part of my past back and knowing that I can actually look at that footage again and edit that footage, maybe, if I've got time. It's hard to find time, because time is money, and I am very broke. And it's a little weird to be revisiting a film that I shot back in 2007, 2008, 2009, because that's a long time ago now. But even so, I can do stuff with the effects now that I couldn't do back then. And I've been redoing all the effects for the first 10 minutes and making it look real nice now. So I'm still proud of the film and the work we did on it, and people seem to like it. And hopefully, I'll have more good news and more videos from that film for you over the coming year. And it's not a film, it's a fan film, for Marvel, so we were never able to sell it or make money off of it, really. So if you ever want to support me and my artwork and my films, I've got a Patreon, and I'm on social media and this and that, so I'll link you to my Patreon and my other social media in the description if you'd like to support some more work from me. I also do film restorations, you probably know that, and animation, and a lot of artwork, mostly for video games and stuff like that. And I've got a few very personal projects. There was a video game project called Asperia, which got delayed for years, which I'm still picking away at. And I've been trying to develop a film for a while, and I've got another film that I'm hoping to shoot. But I'm not going to talk about those and jinx them, but there's a lot more I'd like to do. But, time is money. It's hard to find time. It's hard to find money. So anyway, wishing you all a happy 2019. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting me. And hope to have more fun She-Hulk stuff for you, and just more fun stuff in general in 2019. It's been a hard couple years for, I think, a lot of us, and it seems a lot like the world's going crazy these days, with Trump and everything else. It's just, he's horrible, and everything seems a little horrible. And I spend a lot of time, too much time, thinking about the past where people maybe fucked me over or did bad things to me. And I should, my mood for 2019 is kind of to clear that out and move forward, but also remember the best of what we did back then. So I hope that you're all having a happy 2019. And I'll see you around. Thanks for listening. Bye. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know how to end this. I'm just going to stop talking. I'll just stop talking, because the battery's actually running out on. Yeah. The battery's actually running out on my Lumix camera because I've talked so long. So that's probably a sign that I should